What's up, everyone? Tag a friend and let them know we're about to get into it.
Welcome to the Speak Her podcast with your host, Camille Essick, the podcast where creators and innovators connect. Let's get started.
Bye, everyone. Welcome back. I'm your co-host, Jonathan. Camille will be here shortly. Before we begin, be sure to hit that notification bell and subscribe.
Keep the Speaker Podcast ad-free. Scan the QR code and buy me a coffee. Your support keeps us ad-free as we continue to bring you conversations impacting the community and the culture.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the show. Please share this and tag a friend who needs to hear this.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. This is Camille Essick. I'm host of the Speaker Podcast. This is the podcast where innovators and creators connect. What I need you to do right now is hit that notification bell and subscribe. Follow me across all streaming platforms such as iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Pandora. We have an amazing conversation tonight. We're continuing our conversation regarding the psychology of money. If you missed the first conversation, we are doing part 2 of this as we continue to carve out the financial education corner of the podcast. I also want to let you all know that I am working and building out some things, which I'm going to let you know about later down the road. But I'm so excited, y'all. We are about 100 or so downloads away from hitting our 12,000 download goal. Faster than I anticipated, and we're now streaming in 93 countries and 1,213 cities. So the podcast is growing, and so if you haven't heard, I'm letting you know right now. We also have music available on Tidal. The Speaker Podcast soundtrack is available. It's out there right now. I do have music videos on my YouTube channel, but you can also stream on the go on Tidal. But as we get into this financial education, my sis is back, the one and only phenomenal Tracy Powell. She's here. So I want everyone to welcome Tracy back to the show.
Glad to be here.
Absolutely. So those that don't know who you are, just give the people a little bit of your background as far as who you are and what you do.
Well, I am Tracy Powell. I am an author. I am a financial specialist. I am an office leader for the Economic Empowerment Resource Center for Pinnacle Bank. I am a facilitator of business masterminds, consumer masterminds. I'm HUD certified counselor. I am a public speaker and the author of Good Girl Trauma Is Not My Drama. So I've got a lot going on, realtor and all of those good things. So when it comes down to financial literacy, I'm all things that.
I love it. And then also, tell us a little more about this book and then where can people find that? Like, that sounds really cool.
Well, my book is Good Girl Trauma Is Not My Drama, and it's actually talking about healing from fawn trauma, which is people pleasing. And just finding myself, finding my way. It tells a little bit of my story, and it's just how I've walked through life being the nice girl. When the Lord never told me I had to be nice, but he did say you need to be kind. Wow. And so when you look at the differences, you start to realize that you're giving yourself away. And so I gave myself away to the point where I had an empty cup. And I was helping people from the dust in that cup. And I've learned to fill my cup up, and now I can help people from the overflow. So in essence, I've learned to love myself, the woman in the mirror. And that has flown over to how I treat my finances, how I treat my body, my health, my relationships, my family, and everything that has anything to do with me, even my spirituality and how I relate and talk to the Lord. And so when I looked at my life and what I needed to do to change and what I needed to do to elevate, I started to journal. And as I was journaling, I found that I was writing my story. And so Good Girl Trauma is Not My Drama came from that. And it can be found on my website at thetracypowell.com. It can also be found on Amazon.
I like it. We may have to bring you back just to break this book down because that sounds like a good read. And I think a lot of us, particularly the ladies, I think they'll make for really good conversation. So absolutely. Y'all go grab that. Not now because we're in this conversation, but at some point after the show, please go get that. And one
Yes.
of the reasons why you're here, the main reason why you're here is we're digging into the psychology of money. This is part 2 of our conversation as we venturing towards the road to home ownership. And so what I really want to do is just give you the floor and those watching or listening, be sure that you are, hitting that subscribe button, like, comment, share, tag some people and come on in. And if you have a question, please feel free to drop in the comments below. So Tracy, go ahead and take it away.
Well, awesome. And thank you, Camille, for allowing me to be a part of your show today. The psychology of money is very important to me because a lot of people look at money and they don't know that it's a tool to help you get the things that you need, to help you to move in the way you need to move. And a lot of times we look at it as, maybe I'm not supposed to have it or it's scary. But we have to understand that the psychology of money is not really about money at all. It's actually about how we think, how we feel, and how we behave around money. So, two people can make the same amount of money and they can live totally different lives, financial lives. And you say, well, how is that? Well, it's because of the way they think. It's their mindset, their experiences, and their emotional ties to money. So when you look at money and you think about the fact that it's emotional, it's not just logical, it is emotional. And so we like to believe that we can make rational financial decisions, but most money choices are driven by how we feel. How many people have been sad and they just wanted to go shop? Or they were mad and they just wanted to go and get something just quickly to get it, or you were just happy and you wanted to celebrate. Let's go to dinner, but we went to the restaurant that we knew we couldn't afford, but we did it anyway, or you bought something just because you wanted to be like somebody else. Have you ever done that? A lot of times it's coming from an emotional place. But when you think about it, when you're afraid or when you have fear, it says, I need to save everything. So you don't want to spend your money. Insecurity, I need to look successful. And so when you think about looking successful, it's like, I want to be like the Joneses. I want to fake it until I make it. And you don't realize that you're spiraling down into a financial bondage that you placed yourself in because of the emotions that you carry. Or sometimes it's guilt. You say, I should help everyone else first. And I just told you about my book, Good Girl Trauma is Not My Drama. And what I was doing is I was being the nice girl. So I was helping everybody else before I helped myself. And then you think about stress. I deserve this purchase. I just need it. I don't feel like I want to go without it because it's pacifying that stress. It's making you feel good temporarily, but it's not really taking care of the situation. So if you think about it, your bank account often reflects your emotional patterns more than your math skills. Think about that. And you think about money, you think about numbers, you think it's all about the dollars and cents, but a lot of times it's about the emotion that we put in it. So you think about also your money story was written early. Now, what does that mean? Your beliefs about money usually come from 4 places: childhood experiences, what you saw your parents do or your guardians do, cultural and faith influences, and past financial wins and trauma. So if something happened in the past and it took you out or it took everything away, you may not even want to go down that road again. And it could have just been that situation wasn't the right one. But don't close yourself off from doing what you need to do to be successful because you had a bad time with finances in the past. Because we fail forward. That's how we win. But if we get stuck in our situation and in the ways that we move when it comes down to our money or anything in life, then we're going to stay there. If you believe you can be wealthy, you can. If you believe that you will be wealthy, you will. But if you believe that you can't have it, you won't. And if you believe that you are living in poverty, you are. So you dictate and determine the success that you have in your life. When you think about it, money doesn't grow on trees. Scarcity mindset is what that is. Think about it. Answer in the chat the pop-ups. We want to know where you are and what you're thinking. And think about, we always struggle. If you say that, that's fear. That's a fear-based decision and a fear-based thought. You do not always struggle. If you think about the blessings that you've had in your life, a lot of times your blessings are going to outweigh your storms. But we get caught in looking at the bad or looking at those things that stress us out. So sometimes we forget about the blessings that we've had. And then sometimes people say, well, I have to overwork to earn money. That's the burnout cycle. We need to work smarter instead of harder. So what does that look like? What can you do in your life right now that puts you in a situation to where you can earn more by doing less? Think about it, because I'm pretty sure there's an answer for you. So this is why two people with the same opportunity respond completely different when it comes down to how they're living, what they do with their finances, what they do with their money, what they believe they can earn. How some people who make just what you make have more in the bank than you do, because it's all about how you do or how and what you do with your money and your finances, how you save, how you spend, what you spend on, and how you actually behave when it comes down to money. So when you think about it, your behavior is greater than your knowledge every time. Most people don't have a money knowledge problem. They have a behavior problem. So you can now think about it. Do you know how to budget? Do you know how to save? Do you know how to invest? Those are three things that you want to ask yourself. Do I budget? And if I've written a budget, do I follow it? Do I save? Do I pay myself first? And a lot of times you'll hear people say, well, pay yourself first. Well, I go a little bit different than that, because the first thing you should do is tithe. After you tithe, you should pay yourself. After you pay yourself, then you look to see what you have, and that's how you pay your bills and everything else. But you have to fill your cup up before you start filling everybody else's cup. So think about that. And are you doing it? And then, are you investing? And what are you investing in? Is it a good investment? And still, are you doing it consistently? If you're not doing it consistently, does it even count? And then you ask yourself, well, why? Why? So you got to remember, you have to build good habits. You've got to identify the issues that you're having with money, or identify the good things that you're doing to save money. What are those things? Make note of them and write them down. And then you've got to have discipline. A lot of times we have discipline when it comes down to exercising every day. We have discipline when going to work every day. We have discipline when it comes down to helping others. But do we have discipline when it comes down to our money? I made a commitment this year that I was not going to shop for 365 days. I was going to, and I'm talking about clothing. I was going to wear what was in my closet, and that's it. So the main store that I shopped at for the last 15 years, I have not been in that store this whole year. But I found that I had a couple of places to go and I ended up shopping, right? But I only got what I needed, but I never went to the store that I normally shop at. And then I had to ask myself, did you hold true to what you committed to? And the answer is no. So then I had to go back and rewind and start over. So I failed forward. I didn't get stuck in that, but I had to restart. And it's okay to restart. But think about it. What is causing you to have the behaviors that you have, to do the things that you do when it comes down to money? Because a lot of times we have money going out of the door that we don't realize is leaving our pockets. We've got things that are just automatically coming out of our account, those gym memberships that we don't go to the gym, those massage subscriptions that we don't go get massages, you know, the subscriptions to Netflix, but we haven't looked at it in 4 months because we've been working late and by the time we get home, we're sleepy. What are those things that you're paying for that you're not using? Are you going to the grocery store buying groceries, but you eat out every day and now when you clean out the refrigerator, you're throwing half of the food away? If you are, you're wasting money. And if you want to give yourself a raise, then you start to look at how you're spending your money, what you're spending it on, and are you making good use of that money? If you're eating out every day, are you eating the leftovers? Are you throwing them down the drain? If you're throwing them away, maybe you need to start buying a kid's meal. If you're throwing them away, maybe you need to cook a little bit and only buy what you're going to eat for the week so that you're not having to throw away things that you didn't use. So let's be more cautious about how we spend our money. Let's plan before we spend our money, and everything we do, write it down and stick to the plan. So we have to be disciplined, but also we have to watch out for our emotional triggers, because emotional triggers can take you off of any plan that you have. So make sure that you understand what those emotional triggers are and address them, as opposed to spending to satisfy them momentarily, because those things are going to come back. So just remember that wealth isn't built by knowing more, it's built by doing consistently. So you have to be consistent in what you're doing in order to actually make a change. They say 21 days of doing something consistently creates a habit. So what are those things that you need to do when it comes down to your money and your finances that will create a habit for you? What does that look like? And how do you implement it and stick to it? What is going to motivate you to actually get to that point? For me, it was that I had so many clothes that I had given away and I still had so many more that had tags on it. Why would I spend more? I realized that I was shopping because of emotional triggers. I was shopping when I was sad. I was shopping when I was happy. I was shopping when I was excited, and even when I was tired. That was just my thing. Some people drink, some people smoke, some people run, some people exercise. Some people have different habits to handle the stress of life. But whatever it is, if it's benefiting you and making you better, great. But if it's costing you money or costing you your life or costing your health, then it's time to shift from those things. And I talk about the psychology of money today because as we understand it, we can then better prepare for the things that we want, whether it is purchasing your first home or actually saving ourselves from foreclosure or purchasing that car that you need, because right now public transportation is making you late every day. What is it that you need that you're looking to get, but you don't know how you're going to get there? You have the answer. You have the answer in your hand. And a lot of times we're looking at the fact that we need a new job. And so all we want to focus on is the need for a new job because we feel like we're not making enough for our lifestyle. But if you were to actually create a budget and stick to it, I have not seen anyone that did that did not give themselves a raise, because we always find money. We find money that's going out the door that we didn't realize we were spending, whether it is actually getting Starbucks every single day, every morning. and we're paying $6 to $15 every morning to Starbucks. But you can make coffee at home, and that bag of coffee is $5, and it'll last you for 2 to 3 weeks possibly. So how much did you just save there? And it might sound like it's a little bit, because a lot of people say, well, $5 to $15 is not much. If you're doing it 5 days a week, it adds up. It is much. But you could take that same money and go to the store, get a coffee that you really like, and then have your coffee at home. So think about those things. And then we want to look at identifying what drives our income. So what are you doing in order to make money? What are you doing to keep your money? What are you spending on? I had a young lady tell me that she had just moved to town. She had new friends. They went out every Friday night after work. And she was the one that was picking up the tab every week. But she was trying to build a relationship, and she wanted new friends. And I told her, I said, try this. This Friday, go ahead and go out with them, but do not pick up the tab. And she was like, that's going to feel kind of weird. I said, no, don't pick up the tab and see what happens. Well, she didn't pick up the tab. They got upset, and they did not want to go out again. They told her she was tripping. And I'm like, that's the point. You had people that were feeding off of you and using your kindness for weakness. And that's why in the beginning I said, it's okay, but we were never told we had to be nice. We do need to be kind, but that's nice overboard, because she was actually pouring into other people that had no interest in pouring into her. So be cautious about who you deal with and where you go and who's in your space, because that helps you to keep what you have and use it in the right way. It's okay to help people, but it's not okay to be taken advantage of. You cannot purchase friends. So let's think about this powerful truth. You will rarely outperform the way you see yourself. You heard it? You will rarely outperform the way you see yourself. So if you see yourself winning, you will. If you see yourself losing, you will. Whatever you tell yourself is the truth. So because you're going to walk into it, that's what your mind is telling yourself. Those are the behaviors that you're going to present, and those are the things that are going to outcome from you. So you have to know that that's true. So if you believe I'm bad with money, you'll prove it. If you believe I don't deserve wealth, you'll sabotage it. If you believe I'm a good steward, your actions will align with that. Your financial ceiling is often your identity ceiling. So think about that. You want to have balance. And when we talk about balance, we're talking about saving versus living. So some people save everything and never enjoy life. And it's so funny because I know somebody right now that could retire, but they don't want to retire because they want to continue to collect money. However, they have never left the state of Georgia. They don't go on vacation. They don't buy any extras. They don't go out and just celebrate things because they're trying to save everything that they have. You know, and this young lady is someone who really wants to do things, but she's afraid because if she stops and retires and sees that things could go well, she has to believe it first. Because right now it's like, we don't know where the world is going. But her retirement is set where she could be okay. But it's just the fear of letting go and really hanging on to that that's causing her to say, no, I'm gonna stay right here. I'm gonna save everything and I'll enjoy life later. Well, at 67, later is gonna come quick. So how much longer are you gonna wait to enjoy life? Now, others spend everything and never build wealth. Now, I know a lot of people like that too. They're like, okay, I can't take it with me, so I'm just going to enjoy life right now. There has to be an in between, there has to be a balance between saving and spending and enjoying life. But for one to not do anything but save and never enjoy it, and the other to spend every single dime they have and enjoy, but they have nothing to show for it. And they're usually ones that's calling to say, can I borrow? Can you help me? And these are two people that make around the same amount of money. But you'll see that it's a huge difference in what they have and what they keep. So just think about that. The psychology of money is about balance. So security, that's your savings and your investments, and freedom, spending and enjoying. You've got to have a balance right there. You can't be on one end of the spectrum or the other, but you need to have a balance right there in the middle. So healthy money mindsets say, I can build wealth and enjoy my life. So that's my affirmation for the day. I can build wealth and enjoy my life. And I hope that you out there saying it with me. I can build wealth and enjoy my life. But let me change that. I do build wealth and I do enjoy my life. So I'm saying it in present tense because at that point, it's real. I am speaking it into existence and I can and will and shall have it. So I do build wealth and I do enjoy my life. And that's my affirmation for today. What's yours?
That's
So,
so good. That's so good.
yeah.
And hopping right in, one of the things that you touched on, Tracy, if you have not done so, you all make sure that you are subscribing, sharing, doing all the call to actions, right? One of the things you touched on that I really want to ask you, as far as people that have may experience trauma, how can people really unpack the trauma and get to the root of maybe why they do what they do and dig deeper into that? Because, for some people that have addictive behavior or vice that you touched on, some individuals may get into, like, alcohol or substances, but for some, like you mentioned previously, it is shopping. So really, how can someone really get into the why of, like, the causation? Because clearly you're making enough money, you're taking care of your basic needs and necessities, but yet it seems like, there's a hole in the boat, right? We're trying to row to the other side, but there's a hole in the boat. I know for myself personally, and I had the app forever and I forgot about it, and so few months ago, and I've been more active about it, I got the Money Rocket app and started finding subscriptions I've forgotten about and started canceling things, and I found, like, an extra $1 or $200 just as like, and canceling that stuff, and even though you do have to pay for that app if you want them to do the cancellations for you, but I think it's, like, maybe $12 a month. However, the money you save paying for this app that is proactive versus kicking out maybe $100 in subscriptions to these other places, I feel like the cost did balance out, and, if you, have a subscription that you forgot about, you'll get notifications, and you can check it all the time. There's also a feature on there if you're saying, "Hey, I have this goal," it will even tell you and allow you to set up how much money you want allocated to go to the side for something every month. You can do it every day, every month, every week, however you choose to. So there are things out there, tools to assist you, but on the psychology side, what can people do to try to unpack their why when it comes to the relationship with money?
The first thing is to realize that there is a situation there. There is a reason why you're doing what you're doing. A lot of times we don't want to face that there's a reason. And a lot of times it does come from childhood trauma. It comes from how we were raised or what we saw others doing, or it comes from something that happened in our lives that caused us to gear towards whatever that vice is. And you start with journaling. You start, and when I say that is writing down your thoughts, asking yourself, why do I feel this way? Why do I want to spend this money on this when I know I got a light bill due? What is it that's causing me to do this? And then therapy. Therapy is big, but a lot of people in our community don't want to go to therapy. And the reason why I say therapy is because you have someone that does not really know you, but they can help you peel back the layers to life to find out your reason behind the reason as to why you're doing what you do and why you move the way you move. Because a lot of times we have actually forgotten or hidden a lot of the trauma that happened to us as children or happened to us as teenagers. And it has followed us throughout life. And we realize that we are moving in a way that pacifies that hurt or pacifies that pain, but we didn't know we were hurting. We didn't know that the pain was there. And so it comes down to actually talking to someone and really understanding what causes you to move in the way you move. Like, just for me, me being the people pleaser, when I was younger, my mom was sick. So I became caregiver at a very young age. I had, siblings, but I was little mama in the house. So when I got old enough, I went to work. And even I went to school, I came back home because I had to make sure my mom was okay. And so in that, I've always been the one that picked up the ball and ran with it to make sure we made it over the finish line. And in that, I also knew that I couldn't go home and be loud and angry and just, be obnoxious or whatever, because I needed to keep the peace in my house from my mom. But after my mom passed, and she passed when I was 26, I continued to be nice because now I'm seeking that love that my mom gave me, which I felt, and it was unconditional. And it was a love I've never experienced from anyone else in my life, but I was seeking that. And so I continued to do the things that I did at home for people that I didn't even know. And so I became the nice girl. And I wanted to make everybody okay and everybody feel good because I was a caregiver. So I wanted to continue to stay in that space. But through therapy, I realized I'm not everybody's caregiver. That was a character or a position I had when I was younger, but I don't have to stay in that space now. And so in finding that it was okay for me to release that, which took time and sometimes I'm still working through it, but it allowed me to wake up those things that I have been carrying for so long. And some of those things were the pain of even losing my mom. And so when you carry pain from the loss of a loved one, pain from being a victim of whatever that is, that you had to go through, the pain of actually not having food on your table or clothes on your back as a child, the pain of actually having those things but not having the love that you needed from your guardians or your parents. Everybody has a story. Everybody has a road that they've had to walk, but a lot of times we bottle it up, and the behaviors that we exhibit today are actually learned behaviors from what we had to go through in the past. And so we need to go back to figure out, are those behaviors hurting us or helping us? Are those behaviors taking us into a space that is detrimental to our success? Are those behaviors allowing us to have a poverty mindset, a mindset that says that we can't and we won't, a mindset that says we don't deserve it? Or is that a behavior that we're carrying that does give us the push to say, I'm going to be better, I can, I will, I shall have? So if we're looking at it in a space where we're doing those things to pacify us for immediate gratification, we need to find out what the reason is and why. And a lot of times it's going to come from journaling, writing it out, and asking those questions that are hard. Why am I doing it?
That's really good. And in this space as a podcaster, you hear so many conversations and people sharing, and um one conversation or thought of conversation was picking up that shopping um, addiction during the pandemic because a lot of people were alone, did not have contact, and so they started to build relationships with the delivery driver
Yeah.
because it was someone coming around. Um, Everyone's wearing a mask. At least I know I was masked up, but a lot of people were very isolated, not a lot of interaction, a lot of virtual everything, right? And so that human interaction came with the mailman and FedEx and UPS, right?
And the Amazon
And
driver.
Amazon driver. And so that became a point of expectation for some people. And then in another school of thought, there are some people that have experienced so much disappointment in their life. They manufactured expectations through a package arriving because if nothing else, I know this package is on the way, and so you get addicted to the feeling of expectation that this is for me because in life, no one else has done anything for you, no one else has checked on you, no one else has poured into you, no one else is giving to you, but I can create this false sense of expectation through a package, and then the sense of control because you picked it out. You went through online and it's sense of empowerment because like, "Ooh, this is cute and I like it." And then knowing, well, if I don't like it, I can return it. I can just always get my money back. And so there's all these different nuances to how and why individuals gravitate to shopping or um the addictive behavior through retail therapy.
You're right, but a lot of that also goes into comparison.
Mhm.
You're looking at someone else's life, especially on social media, and you want it. But you got to remember, comparison is a silent wealth killer because social media makes it worse than anything because during the pandemic, that's all we had. And so people could create lives for themselves, and you didn't know whether it was true or not, but it looked good. It seemed like it felt good, and you wanted a part of it. So
And then you
it's
get it,
like,
and it's not even what they hyped it up to be
right.
online, and you like, "I spent more." It's a joke, but yeah.
Yes. So it's kind of like you see the lifestyle, but you see the lifestyle without the debt. You don't know what it costs them to do it. And half the time it is a joke. It's not even real. So you're spending trying to meet or match what you see online, which is causing you to actually deplete or diminish your wealth because you again want to feel seen, you want to feel loved, and you're right, opening those packages feel good, especially if you're alone. You had a lot of people that broke up during the pandemic. You had a lot of people who lost loved ones during the pandemic. And so retail therapy became the number one thing that people did in order to pacify those feelings. And so now you think about it, most of our shopping is done online. And most of the time, the money goes into our bank account and it's out so quick because it's so easy to shop online now. But we're buying things that we don't really need. So I was looking at you compare your real life to someone else's highlight reels. And that's what we do. Well, a lot of people do. And then that's going to lead to overspending. That's going to lead to the pressure to keep it up. That's going to lead to feeling behind or left behind. And it's like, well, how do we fix that? So a lot of it still goes into our behaviors and how we move and how we think and how we work our money. And so we have to think about how trauma is going to show up financially. And it does. Now, this is going to hit deep, and it does align with everything that we talk about. The money mantra can look like overgiving, which is people pleasing with money, undercharging, which is not valuing yourself. A lot of times you may have a product or a business out there and you want people to buy it, but you know what it took to get it done. And so you're undercharging. So you're undervaluing yourself and you're not making money, and it's making it hard for you to keep your business open. You're avoiding money conversations because you don't want to talk about all the money that you're spending, the money that you're losing, the money that you're not making because you're not charging the right price for your product, and the fact that you're giving half of your products away, or you're just trying to please people because you want to keep people in your life. And then you think about hoarding money because you're afraid that you're not going to have it. So you got to think about those things too. And does this sound familiar to anybody out there? Are you doing any of these things? Because again, it's not just the money. It's the fact that you've got to heal now. And we got to do some healing work. So that's why I brought up the fact that, hey, journal, write it down. If you write down your actions and how you felt when you did it, when you write down what's going on in your life and you write it down, it now becomes your story. It becomes real. You don't have to ignore it because, hey, I did go through this. And now I can go back and I say, well, what did I do to come out of it? What did I do to change this? Because if I'm looking at every Saturday, this happened to me. And after it happened, I went out and I bought this, or I used my money here, or, I have friends that want me to always pay when we go out. And you got to ask yourself, are they really your friends? Do I need the things that I'm purchasing? Am I shortchanging myself in business because I just want you to like me? What am I doing that's self-sabotaging my wealth building habits? Because we need to shift from that. So if you think about it, I'm going to give you the definition of the psychology of money. And it's how your beliefs, your emotions, and your experiences shape the way you earn, you spend, you save, and you grow. So think about that. How your beliefs, emotions, and experiences shape the way you earn, spend, save, and grow money. That's the psychology of money. Your beliefs on it, your emotions on it, your experiences with it, and how it shapes how you earn, spend, save, and grow money. So if you think about it, you need to really understand how to budget, what money means to you, how much money are you bringing in, how much money are you letting go out the door, what is it that you have a goal to do, and how are you going to get there? We've got to write it down. Your best friend is either your note app on your phone or your iPad or an actual pen and paper. Write it down, make it plain, because you have to educate yourself on credit. You have to educate yourself on budgeting, and that's going to lay a solid foundation for you if you understand three things: how to improve your credit scores, how to increase your savings, and how to reduce your debt. When you do those three things, you're setting a solid foundation for wealth, for a little joy to come in, a little more happiness to come in, because you're not going to have all the stress that you have when you can't see where your money's going, when you don't have a budget, when your credit scores are low. But it takes time and it takes effort in order to get to where you want to be. And it's okay, because as long as you're breathing, you can actually start today. As long as you're breathing, it's not too late to be where you want to be and to do the things that you want to do. Just be open to getting the information and understanding how to make that work. So a lot of times when we are going through all of this, we do need healing. We need identity shifts. We need permission to choose ourselves. Look in the mirror and love you. Choose you first. Because when you choose you first and you walk in that, you attract people who choose you as well. When you actually look to see what you have to give, you are more powerful than you ever gave yourself credit for. So walk in your power. Know that you are great. Know that you determine whether you succeed or if you fail. And it's all by the way you talk to yourself, how you believe in yourself, how you move for yourself. And remember to fill your cup up first and help people from your overflow. God will help you get where you need to be. He will give you ideas. He will give you a mission. He will give you all that you need. But if you discount it, if you overlook it, if you don't pay attention to it, then actually who can you blame but you? You have what you need in your hands. And a lot of times you say, no, because I don't have anything. You have what you need in your hands. I read a story about a young lady who didn't have the money to save her house, but she was a great baker. She baked a cake for a neighbor who paid her, and the neighbor shared it, and then somebody else wanted the cake. And then she started selling cakes out of the house. And she sold so many cakes that she was able to save her house. Now, think about it. She had something in her hands. God gave her the gift of baking. What is your gift? Is it speaking? Is it singing? Is it braiding hair? Is it being a makeup artist? Is it writing? Is it helping others? What is it? Think about it, because a lot of times we do so many things that are outside of the scope of what our natural talents are that we are not happy. We're working a job that we want to leave. We started a business, but we actually turned the business into a job, so we want to quit because we're not actually doing what our passion is. What is your passion project? What is your passion purpose? And what are you going to do in order to actually peel back the layers of that in order for it to be successful, to understanding the root cause of why you haven't moved forward with it, but now it's time to actually put things in place so that you can move forward with it. You think about it, a person who heals themselves, it says a person who heals their relationship with themselves automatically upgrades their relationship with money. Kind of like that. So a person who heals their relationship with themselves automatically upgrades their relationship with their money. So when you feel better about you, when you take the time to actually work on you, you will attract positive things into your life that will help you build, that will help you grow. And actually, it is going to turn into a financial wealth magnet, because wealth is also not just about the dollars and cents. It's about the behaviors, it's about the attraction, it's about what you attract into your life and what you allow into your life. And when you think about that, it's like, okay, well, am I doing myself a disservice, or am I really serving myself well because I believe that I can? I believe that I will. I believe that I shall. I believe that I have. I believe that I am. Or are you telling yourself, I can't? Are you telling yourself that won't work? Are you telling yourself, oh, that's not for me? Change the way you talk to yourself. Change the behaviors that you have about yourself. Change how you love on yourself. And it is time for you to kind of spoil yourself, and that doesn't cost money. Take a day to relax, relate, and just release all of the negativity from your mind and your body and your soul, and breathe in the air and meditate and read and talk to the Lord and ask Him to fill you up with His Spirit, with all that He can give you, and give you, Lord, just ask Him to give you the ideas and the movements and the behaviors that you need to have to be successful. Because when you think about it, you determine your fate. You determine how successful you're going to be. So stop blaming other people and look in the mirror, because it's all up to you. So you think about, I'm going to ask you a couple of quick reset questions. And these are questions that you want to ask yourself. And it goes back to when Camille asked me, well, what does somebody need to do in order to heal or to do things different from the way they were doing it in the past? I want you to ask yourself these questions, and these could be your journaling questions, okay? And the first question is, what did I learn about money growing up? Do I feel safe having money? Do I feel worthy of wealth? Where am I overgiving financially? What would overflow look like for me? Now, I can sit here and answer all these questions myself, but my answers are going to be different than your answers. And see, this is the foundation of actually changing the behaviors that you have when in relationship to money. So when you want to ask yourself these questions, you want to really think about the answers. And that's why I said your notes app on your phone or your tablet is the best friend right now, or just a simple piece of paper and a pen. You want to ask yourself these questions, and I'm going to say it one more time because I want you to get it. But the first question is, what did I learn about money growing up? Question number 2, do I feel safe having money? Because the answer to that a lot of times is no. But why? If you say no, this is an open-ended question because I want you to ask the question why. Then the third question is, do I feel worthy of wealth? Again, yes or no, and why? Your fourth question is, where am I overgiving financially? And then I would also say that's a why question too. And then your last question is, what would overflow look like for me? Now, that's a big one.
Yeah, those are some really good questions, and we're gonna get to a stopping point because I think you have given the people so much. We really need them to process and digest. Of course, you're gonna come back because we're gonna continue this conversation. I think it's very necessary, and we're working our way towards that road to home ownership. But before we do that, we have to get into the psychology of why you're doing what you're doing now. And so before we close things out, Tracy, just one more thing, just before we begin to wrap up the show.
Before we wrap up, what are your key takeaways from our conversation, and where can our listeners find you on social media?
Key takeaways from our conversation today is just look at your behaviors, and are they creating wealth, or are they actually putting you into a poverty mindset? And change those behaviors that are not working for you, and look for new behaviors that will help you consistently build wealth and create a new foundation. And I can be found on social media outlets at TLyn0.
All righty. Well, that wraps up another episode of the Speaker Podcast. Join me next Tuesday. I'm going to sit down with JT. We're going to have a really good conversation regarding mental health ministry and a few other things. That will be a conversation you don't want to miss. Be sure to hit that notification bell and subscribe. Follow me across all streaming platforms such as iHeartRadio, Spotify, Pandora. I'm also on Lemonade, Substack, Instagram, Facebook, all the spaces and places I'm there. And I really hope that you all got something from tonight's conversation. Without further ado, you all be safe out there. Spring has sprung. The weather is beautiful. So go out there and grab some sun, okay? And y'all have a good evening and be blessed. Good night.
Wow. What a conversation. I hope you got something from tonight's episode. If you missed tonight's convo, no worries. Just catch the replay on YouTube and be sure to like, share, and subscribe.
Keep the Speaker Podcast ad-free. Scan the QR code and buy me a coffee. Your support keeps us ad-free as we continue to bring you conversations impacting the community and the culture.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Speak Her Podcast. Be sure to follow Camille on Instagram at camille.essick, Facebook at the Speak Her Podcast, or www.camilleessick.com.
Listen, love the Speak Podcast. The feeling when you're here. There's a vibe in your ear.